Okay, so is everybody here already? Kompleto na ba ang tanan? Okay na ang tanan. Okay, it's 7:30 in the morning, so let's start our class na. But first, I am requesting everybody to please rise for our prayer, and somebody will lead the prayer. Any volunteer? Wala gusto mag-volunteer? So okay, I'll be calling someone na lang. Adrian Carlo. Siya jud akong una nakita. Okay, Adrian, can you please lead us a prayer? Okay. Amen. Okay, thank you, Adrian. You can now sit down, and the rest of the class, you can now sit down also. Okay, so good morning, class. Alright. Happy ba mo today? Or kamusta man mo? What's your feeling today? Happy, nalipay, nakapamahaw. Okay, very good. Before we're going to formally start our class, mag-energize sa atake. Aron dili ra kay mo luya kay early in the morning, mga luya pa kay mo, katulgon pa kay ang uban. So, stand up, tindog tanan. And now, I will teach you some basic steps, hand steps in cheer dance. Okay? So the first step is like this, clappings. 1, and then next is 2, 3, 4, then balik o clap. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, balik o clap. After that, pataas ninyo yung hands, and then i-down ninyo twice. So that will be 1, 2. Okay, balik na balik. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Nakuha? Oh, very good. Oh, haster kayo si Adrian Carlo. Okay. So, since kabalo na mo, we're going to sing a song for that. Okay? Like this one. I have 2 hands, the left and the right. Hold them up high, so clean and bright. Clap them softly, 1, 2, 3. Clean little hands are good to see. Very good. Okay, you can now take your seat now. Okay, so thank you for cooperating, everyone. I hope nga nang mata na ang mga tulog dira sa kilid-kilid. But anyways, wala ko nalimot class sa inyo ang assignment. So kindly pass your assignment to Miss Chanel. Miss Chanel, collect the assignments, please. Okay, thank you. So yes, who can remember what was our lesson last time? Okay, Mr. Justin. Very good. We talked about acceleration and velocity last time. Very good, very good. And now we will be going to learn another topic. I know this will interest you a lot. But before that, here are some pictures that I want you to look at. 3 pictures only. And then what I want is try to examine the photos and then tell me what is the common in these photos, or what common characteristics or illustrations that you can conclude about it. Okay? You have only 2 minutes. Time's up. So any volunteer who can share their answers? Okay, Roxanne. Yes, very good. In 3 pictures, what you can see is they are moving. Yeah, the subjects are moving. Very good. Very good answer. What else? Okay, very good, Miss Chanel. As what you can see, there is force, especially the 3rd photo na force since ginatuklod sa baby girl ayang mga manghol. Thank you so much for your answers, class. But before we will going to proceed, there are important things and concepts that we need to recall for us to understand deeply our lesson. Okay? So I have here guide questions for you, and anybody can answer. If you want to, then just raise your hand. Okay? The first question is, what is motion? Or what comes to your mind when you hear motion? Anyone? Okay, Miss Jan. Yes, very good. An object or something that is moving. Very good. Okay, another one for the second question. What is force? Or what comes to your mind when you say force? Yes, Mr. Rexon. Okay, strength or energy, compulsion. Okay. Okay, very good. Now for the third question, what is friction? Anybody, or what comes to your mind when you say friction? Yes, Miss Chan. Okay, a force that is resisting or a barrier. Very good answer. Okay, for the last question, mga bright man, kini ko ang mga students. For the last question, what do you mean, what can you say when it states that an object at rest? Anyone? Okay, you. Yes, very good. An object that is not moving or not in motion. Okay, sa inyo kayo bo? Sa inyo na kayo, I know guys, sa inyo ang makuha ito ang lesson for today. So anyways, class, since we have recalled already the concepts, important concepts, we will now proceed to another activities involving our lesson. Okay?
So class, now that before we dive right into the first law of motion, I want you to have a little bit of an exercise, right? So in this particular exercise, I want you to say OR if the situation given is object at rest, and OM if it illustrates the object in motion. So when you say object at rest, it is not moving, it is in one place, and object in motion if it is moving from one place to another. So let's go now to the first one, which is a rolling ball in the floor. So anybody who can answer? Yes, that's right. It is an object at rest. So let's go now to the second one, a doll standing at the table. So anybody? Yes, that's right. It is an object in motion. Now this the third one, flying kite played by a boy. So anybody who can answer? Yes, that's right. It is an object in motion. So the fourth one, let's go now to the fourth one, a toy car in the divider. So what is that? Yes, that's right. It is an object at rest. No? And the last one, a coin in your teacher's desk. So anybody? Yes, that is right. It is an object at rest. So now we have a little bit of an idea, right? So let's go on for another exercise, which is inertia really present? Or the idea of inertia really present? So let's go now to our first scenario. So to prove that, I will ask questions about that. So let's go on to the first question. So what makes the electric fan stop? So anybody who can tell me, right? Yes, that is right. So there is friction on the let us say the rotor or the blades that is connected to the motor. So there is friction on there, right? So does the blade stop abruptly after I turn it off? So when I turned off the electric fan, right? When I turn it on, and I turn it off, it does not stop immediately, right? It will continue to spin for a little while before it stops. So, does it stop or not? No. Yes, that is right. So no, because we have this called thing called inertia or momentum, right? So we will discuss that into our uh, discussion later on. So let's move on.
To fully understand the given scenario, which is switching off an electric fan, we are going to talk about Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest stays at rest and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So in simply put, you cannot change the direction of a moving object if just by merely looking at it. You cannot move something just by touching or looking at it. In order for you to move a thing or to stop a thing or an object, you need to exert a force upon it for it to be done. You have probably noticed that a moving object will usually slow down and stop under some effect it made to keep it moving. Say for example, if you see a box and if you want to move it, of course it won't move just by merely looking at it. In order for you to move it, you need to push it, you need to pull it so that it can be moved. But if it is moving, how does you want to, or how you want to stop it? What's the thing that you need to do in order for you to stop it from moving? The thing that you need to do is, of course, you need to exert a force in it. We keep on talking about forces, but what is force, by the way? Force is a push or pull exerted on one object by another object. So that's it, a push or a pull. So if you push something or if you pull something, you exert a force in it. That's why the thing can be happened, or the thing or an object can be moved or will be stopped if you exert a force in it. There are three types of force. The first one is the friction, followed by air resistance and natural force. So friction. When we say friction, it is an external force that acts opposite to the direction of motion. So going back to the example that I've given to you earlier about the box. So let's say for example, it is a sliding box and you push it. After a few seconds, the box will stop moving. Why is it? Why does the box stop? It is because of the friction. So if the friction is present, it will help the box to reduce its velocity or its speed. It helps the box to somehow stop the box from moving. So if there's no friction at all, then the box will keep on moving with a constant speed. So that's one thing why a certain thing that is moving will gradually stop after a few seconds. The second one is air resistance. Air resistance is a force that is caused by air. So the force acts in the opposite direction to an object moving through the air. So air resistance is kind of the same thing with the friction, but it's just that the air resistance happens or occurs between the air and the object, because they do friction and air resistance have the same direction. It is coming from the opposite direction of the moving object. So with that, they kinda somehow stop something from moving. The third one is the natural force. Natural force is events that occur in the environment and one that is not under the control of human beings. So an example of this is gravitational force. Of course, we cannot create gravitational force, we cannot maneuver, we cannot control it because it is beyond human capabilities. Now let's proceed with the mass and inertia. Inertia is a tendency of an object at rest to remain at rest, or for a moving object to remain in motion in a straight line with constant speed. So an example of this is wearing a seatbelt while driving, or or just being a passenger. Right after your car abruptly stops, your body will not stop this at the right time, or the same time with the car. Your body will tend to move forward. Why is it? It is because your body follow the inertia. So a good thing that there's a seatbelt, because seatbelt saved and protected a lot of body. But then just by that example, we can fully understand what is inertia is. That without external forces, a thing will keep on moving forward because of the inertia. Newton incorporated the concept of inertia in his first law of motion. That is why Newton's first law of motion is oftenly referred to as the law of inertia. Now, let's proceed with the mass. Mass is a measure of the amount of matter or stuff in an object. As we know from experience that some objects contains more inertia than others. What does it mean? So see, for example, a moving or a real moving truck is harder to change its motion compared to the moving toy truck. Why is it? It is because they differ in mass. The heavier an object is, the greater the inertia it contains. So the inertia of an object is proportional to the mass of an object. So it is expected that heavier objects contains more inertia than those light objects. So roughly speaking, it is very hard, or if you want to change direction of a moving object or something, or if you want to move an object at rest, you must have an unbalanced force. You must have a greater force for you to move it, so that with that you can move it, or you can stop its motion or its direction, because you do have an unbalanced force. So we are now finished talking about the law, Newton's first law of inertia and its concepts. So now going back to the given scenario, which is switching off an electric fan, I am going to ask you, how can you explain this scenario using the concepts of law of inertia? You're going to formulate your answers, and then you're going to relate it to the concepts of inertia on why does the fan of the blade of the fan does not abruptly stop right after it was being switched off. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for you to visualize your answer, and after that, I'm going to call anybody from the class, or somebody from the class, and if there's none, maybe it will be a good thing if there's any volunteer. So your time starts now. Okay, time is up. So anybody from the class who's willing to share the answers? Yes, Miss Lidama. Okay, very good. That was, your answer is correct. Another one, another hand. Yes, Mr. Benito. Absolutely right. So all of your answers are correct. And moving on with the next slide, these are the factors or the reasons or an explanations why or what's happening behind the given scenario. Number one, it is the inability of a body or a thing to change its state of motion by itself. So you cannot change the motion of an object, especially if it is a non-living thing. It cannot change its motion by itself. So in order for it to change its motion or if you want to move it, of course it needs the help from others. It needs an external force from outside of the object. Second, due to the friction acting on the blades at the center of the fan, the speed reduces slowly and gradually, and then it comes to rest. So, friction. I've already told you earlier what friction is. That friction is an external force that acts opposite to the direction of motion. So, because of the friction at the center of the blade of the fan, it helps the fan to reduce its speed, and right after a few seconds, it stopped, or the blade of the fan stopped because of the friction. Because friction is coming from the opposite direction of the motion, and because of that, it helps the fan to reduce its speed. The third one, an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. So this means something that isn't moving will never move except when you move it, and something that is moving will continue moving unless stopped by an unbalanced force. So in simple terms, a thing will keep on doing what it is doing unless acted upon by unbalanced force. So a moving truck will keep on moving forward if there's no external force that acted upon it for it to stop, or a cup at the center of the table will stays at rest if there's no external force that will act upon it for it to move. Same with the electric fan, that it will not stop if there's no external force acted upon it, and it will not move if there's no external factors acted upon it. Fourth one, air friction or air resistance serves as the external force for the blades to stop after some time. Otherwise, it would have never stopped rotating. So as we all know that air resistance or air friction is the same thing, or it is kind of related, or it is kind of the same thing with friction, because they are coming from the opposite direction of motion. But it's just that air resistance occurs between the air and an object. So the air around the fan help for the blade of the fan to stop rotating. So if there's no air resistance at all, and then there's no friction, the fan will keep on rotating and rotating. So with that simple scenario given, we can really define and understand the concepts of the Newton's first law of motion. So now I guess you are now ready to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding about the Newton's first law of motion.
Okay, so in this portion, we are going to have our laboratory activity. So first, you are going to group yourselves into 5. Did you have your group na class? Okay, after that, you will need these materials. So first, you are going to need a coin, an index card, and a glass. Okay, so this is how you do it. So first, you are going to place the index card on the top of the glass. Second, is you are going to put the peso coin on top of the card. Next is you will hold the card, then quickly pull it towards. Then lastly, you are going to observe what happened to the peso coin. Okay, class, so you will have 10 minutes to do it. So are you done na, class? Okay, very good. So after that, I have a question here for you, and one member of your group will be standing in front to answer. Okay, so group 1. What happened? What happened to the coin when you quickly pulled the card? Okay, very good. Next, group number 2. What force acts upon an object at rest and an object in motion? Okay, very good, group number 2. Next is group number 3. How can you relate the activity to the Newton's first law of motion? Very good, very well said, group number 3. And lastly, group number 4. Do you think all objects have inertia? Okay, very good. You have learned a lot from our lesson. So after that, please go back to your chairs. Please sit to your chairs and settle yourself, class. Okay, so please get a 1/4 sheet of paper. Did you all have your 1/4 sheet of paper na, class? Okay, so let's start our quiz. So the direction, please write the answer of the correct. Please write the letter of the correct answer. Okay, number 1. The law of inertia. Letter A, Newton's first law of motion. Letter B, Newton's second law of motion. Letter C, Newton's third law of motion. Okay, done? Okay, number 2. What is the Newton's first law of motion? Letter A, an object at rest will not stay at rest if nothing is doing anything to the object. Letter B, an object at rest will stay at rest until an opposite force acts upon it. Letter C, an object is going to just roll over forever with a large force acting upon it. And letter D, an object rolls down the hill because of friction. Number 3, what is friction? Letter A, the rubbing against another object causing heat and eventually stopping the moving objects. Letter B, 2 different types of stopping points. Letter C, Newton's fourth law of motion. Okay, we have number 4. What is inertia? Letter A, the resistance to change in motion. Letter B, the bouncing of the objects. Letter C, the movements of gas in the atmosphere. And then letter D, the movement of dark matter in space. Okay, so we have number 5. What is mass? A, the amount of energy in an object. Letter B, the amount of matter in an object. And letter C, what everything is made of. Okay, number 6. What is Newton's first law known as? The law of? Letter A, friction. Letter B, mass. Letter C, inertia. And letter D, gravity. Okay, so we have number 7. Number 7, which type of force or forces will cause a change in motion and objects will change in an object in motion? Let me repeat, number 7. Which type of force or forces will cause a change in an object in motion? Letter A, gravity. Letter B, zero net force. Letter C, balanced force. And letter D, unbalanced force. Number 8. An object at rest will remain at rest unless it is acted upon an unbalanced force. Let me repeat. An object at rest will remain at rest unless it is acted upon by unbalanced force. Okay, so we have letter A, momentum. B, forces. Letter C, speeds. And letter D, velocity. Number 9, let's have number 9. Number 9 is, the question is, inertia is A, the force that keeps us on the earth. Letter B, resistance to change in motion. Letter C, force and gravity pull. And lastly, we have number 10. If an object has a kinetic energy, it must be letter A, at rest, or letter B, in motion. So are you done na class? Okay, so please pass your papers to the front.
So I hope that you have understand the concept of the Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia, which is an object at rest remains at rest unless acted upon by an external force, and same goes with an object in motion will stay in motion unless stopped by an external force. So for your assignment, you have to do the PhET simulation, PhET interactive simulation for forces and motion basics. So there you are provided with a activity sheet, and inside the activity sheet you will find the procedures. Carefully follow the procedures found on the activity sheet, and also you will find the data table and fill in the data table with the necessary data based on the activity that you have performed. So that will be your assignment, which will be submitted next meeting. So the assignment, by the way, is done by pairs. So you have to choose your own partner which you can work with the assignment.